I was surprised by a couple things. I was surprised by how modern. Here, I'll talk into this. How about we just pass around like a mic?
That'll work.
How about we did that? I was surprised like how modern it felt like for that time period.
What time period did you think it was going from?
Well, no, like because usually like stuff from I assume that's like from before the 70s is usually less risque feeling. It felt much more pessimistic than usually films. Because I mean, you saw Marilyn Monroe and what's it called? Like
But that's like late 50s, early 60s.
early 60s, but it's still it's in that decade.
Sure.
I'm just saying, like in that period, there's that film felt like a much more modern view on humor, and I didn't know it was like a comedy. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect it to be like funny. I thought it was like a serious, like I always thought, because it's always mentioned in film schools and stuff like that. It's always referenced, and usually, you know, when it's from that point of view, it's usually more a serious kind of film. Sure. Most of the time, a dramatic film. Yeah. Especially for a Western, they're usually not seen as comedies, and especially from that time. So it kind of breaks a lot of rules and expectations, I guess, because I never saw trailers. Obviously, maybe if you're from that time, maybe you saw trailers so you knew what to expect, but I didn't know anything. Sure. I also was kind of intrigued by the fact that because I knew it was a duo movie, but they never had like I thought it was going to be, because usually when duo movies they kind of show them like becoming friends. Like how the movie just starts with them being friends.
That's one thing I really loved about the setup of some of the places that they went to. We knew that they had long-term relationships with those people right off the bat. You know, the example with the sheriff. The sheriff was talking him through on how to make it look like he was being, you know, tied up and gagged as they were asking him questions, or the brothel house. They had been. So they didn't need any narration or any real footage of backstory to explain to us that they had known these relationships for a long time. You know, the variety of shots where they had such a shorthand with the people, you know, where you can tell that they had been working together for a long time. And so that was great, just great storytelling and filmmaking, because so many times we try to dumb down the relationship of the characters by, okay, let me give you a flashback to how long these people have known. In this one, by the dialogue and by the way that they were set up the situation, we knew that they had a long relationship with these people, you know. And we got, you know, obviously the risque teacher scene, which Heidi wanted to fast forward through as fast as possible. Well, wait. She's like, "Is this what's going on here?" And I'm like, "Heidi, wait for it."
Wow.
You did not want to see that at all. But I was trusting that it was 1970, so it wasn't like Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones, you know.
I think the only curse that they used in this was shit when they were running off of the cliff.
Yeah.
There was hardly any curses at all, and it was relatively exciting. The pacing was pretty good for that period because they were a lot slower back then. Mm-hmm. I just they could have probably spent less money on the film if they had cut down on the locations, but they spent a ton of money on the locations. That was filmed in Mexico. That last piece.
I miss film crews going to great locations and then having nothing but green screen behind them. I miss that feel of authenticity. I mean, when in
a lot of this stuff, because of the simple backdrops and stuff, these could have been backlot pieces because they're using stuff from the early 1900s. The Leone got away with doing that stuff in Italy and made it look authentic with just using a few locations. Mm-hmm. This was shot all over Colorado, part of California, Arizona, and Mexico for the Bolivian scenes, and that's the only thing. It's not a bad criticism. I mean, shit, that's authentic, but it went crazy with the budget.
Mm-hmm. I want to add something else too. One of the things that that struck me was, like, also, like, the point of, you know, not being like a normal Western, was that, you know, you had these two heroes that were anti-heroes, and they were almost like very reluctant heroes, but before you're always given like people like Clint Eastwood or they're always like very Americana driven, iconic kind of heroes or Reagan or just very like manly men. And these guys were almost, it wasn't that, and it was funny because it was like, yes, they're kind of still manly men, but not the usual, not the stereotype, not the archetype, not the quiet type. Like they complained, they were whiny, they were like, I don't like working, it's kind of beneath me.
This is Western 70s Deadpool.
Yeah.
Good reference.
But it was not. They weren't actually good guys, because and this was done during a period in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. There was a lot of films done where the bad guys were to look good. You had Bonnie and Clyde. You had The Sting. You had this. There were several films put out at the time.
Good hand.
Those before.
Yeah, because these people were not good people.
Yeah.
And they were kind of being glorified, I guess. But they were still. It was still a very funny. It was this one, from what I read, was fairly accurate from what they were saying in the.
I just thought that was interesting that they were not the usual heroes.
Sure, the anti-hero. Let's talk about how they introduced the two characters, the smart character and the great sharpshooter, because it was very interesting. It was a slow burn, but it was interesting.
Brains and the brawn.
Yeah, exactly, because the setup with
the total
the
con
cards.
setup.
Yeah, the cards
It
was
was a total
set up,
con setup.
Yeah.
Because they were just they were goading the guys, making them think that they weren't as good. It's like, these guys are gunfighters.
Yeah.
And then names were mentioned, and then the guys start backing off.
Yeah, I know. It was an interesting way to set up to tell about the character, because usually I think we actually how is that contrast to modern films setting up the character? Because unfortunately, what I'm thinking of is a great setup what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy, where they set him up. They gave the backstory of his mother and the cassette tape, and then they moved us forward to modern times where he's walking through the planet. With this one, we didn't get any backstory of these two. Matter of fact, we learned later on in the film that they really didn't even know much about each other to begin. They didn't even know each other's names. Yeah. But we have that great card setup with the sharpshooter, where his reputation was so great that we caught on as an audience. We're like, okay, I get who he is. But at first, you're kind of wondering, like, why are we in the middle of a card game with the very beginning of the film?
Yeah, it was very slow.
Yeah. But
Wasn't that? I mean,
for
built up.
70s pacing is always slow in relation to modern.
Well, of course.
To modern day,
because
the build up.
Yeah.
The beginning was very slow.
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
I know, but
that's just because nowadays, we're the YouTube, where it's like, yeah.
You have 10 seconds to get our attention, or else I'm wait.
Absolutely, something shiny, and we're already off that.
Short attention span.
What were you saying?
Theater.
Something now? No, I'm just kidding.
That's short attention span theater.
That's so true. And then the great scene where we learned who the sharpshooter was with the card game, and then the great scene with
the duel.
With the duel.
Yes!
That was great. Remind me of like in Firefly.
Knives or guns.
Absolutely. And in Firefly, when Mel's like, well, do you want to take over this ship? And Jane's like, yeah, and he's like, well, you can't, and so in the same way where he goes back to his gang and the gangs decide, we're done with you, and so, but they do a great setup with the one that's challenging him, is outsmarted by the guy that's supposed to be the brains detective, which, he did great on and that great joke of after he kills me, I want you to kill him, and then he waves to him. So it's just great setup, without much, flashbacks or
No flashbacks.
Yeah, absolutely no. And it's funny because nowadays
there's no narration.
Yeah, and no narration. And also, did you guys notice that there was no underlining music in a lot of it?
Yeah.
It just was like when they're on the side of the cliff watching the Rangers coming and getting them. It was just dead silence. We heard the outdoors.
I thought though when they did have the music, it was kind of disjointed.
Yeah.
Very dissonant.
I really didn't like the raindrops
No.
dropping on the
Tell us a little bit
that
about
was
the raindrops.
that became a hit. That was a top 10 hit, and it was written for the movie.
The raindrops.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Can you sing a bar for us real quick? Anyone want to sing it? Okay.
But the thing was,
Raindrops keep falling on my head. Something, 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 something. I don't even know the words.
Perfect.
That's the first part that matters. Nailed it.
but the movie felt very period centric, and
the
music reminds us, hey, this is the 60s.
Well, as much as you would like to believe every film is going to be period, no matter how much you want it to be.
I mean, look, the
a
hairstyles
legacy.
in this are still 70s.
Yeah.
I know, but that's just the problem with that decade in their movies.
Well, no, but that
You know what
no,
I see in this
yeah.
is what I see in this is the what's his name, Chewbacca and Han Solo.
I
I see Chewbacca and Han Solo.
Oh, that's interesting. Interesting parallel.
I also thought so too.
Yeah, that's interesting. It was fun. We were at a fashion shoot last weekend, and one of the models brought in a whole pile of clothes, and she's like, "Well, what clothes go with this and this?" And she had an outfit that looked like Han Solo's outfit, and so that's what I picked for her to wear.
Oh, you
and
just wanted her to wear
everyone
pants.
was like, "That works great. It works great." And I was like, and I told the photographer, I'm like, "I just saw something that looked like Han Solo's outfit, so I put her in it, and it works great." So, all right, so my nerd card is there to go. So. But it was interesting that they brought in the school teacher to add a little softness to these characters. Do you think they needed softness added to them, or
Well, they
what do you
needed
think?
something to make him
I
not
don't
gay.
think so.
Yeah.
Besides, I was forgetting Edda's name through half of it. I'm like thinking, God, I really hope they mention her name again before she either dies or drops out of the film.
She really did know nothing.
Yeah.
She was kind of a nothing.
I think they said her name all of twice.
Yeah. I think they added the depth of their relationship though, because the fact that they both were sharing one woman added the depth of the relationship, because I don't know any two guys that would. I mean, they were.
Hey, it was the 70s.
They weren't necessarily having sex with her, but they both were able to feel comfortable with hugging and intimacy and all that stuff. So because they showed that in the raindrops falling on my head sequence, he just with why am I drawing a blank?
It was a little.
If this movie were made now, they would have milked that love triangle for all it was worth.
But I don't
they
think it
would
was
have
a
made it
milk
R-rated
triangle.
and
I said a
wasn't,
milk
but-
triangle. A love
It
triangle.
would have been an American version of East Yama Mama
It wasn't
Band.
now, but
It was muddled.
if it were made 30 years later, then it would have been.
It wasn't as strong as Twilight. Okay, let's just be
God,
honest.
there's nothing strong about Twilight. Twilight's a terrible.
That is my
movie.
favorite. Oh, I know. Oh wait, gotta stop recording. Anyway, no. Exactly. No. So you're saying that the school teacher didn't necessarily add anything to the
Except for
film?
that distraction down in Bolivia.
Yeah,
Made it a little easier to rob banks,
I
but
think
if
that it was,
were more explicit,
It was better
that
to
would have
have
been
her
stronger.
in it, because then you got too much of a Batman and Robin feel.
Yeah, see, I thought it added a nice feminine side to it. So
But I can't tell you what her character was. I can't tell you who she was. She was someone who was. She basically said, "I'm bored. I'll go with you." That's basically.
And
what
then she
said.
disappeared, and she's like, "Okay, I'm done. I'm leaving."
Sure.
She was a non-character.
Sure.
I didn't know. She had no struggle. I felt like she was reading lines.
Sure. Okay. That's fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Like they could have taken pretty much any other woman in that show and used her to distract them while they robbed the bank.
Okay.
I think it would have been more interesting if they had gotten to Bolivia and then actually made friends with a local, and then she taught them Spanish. And
But
they
then
had
we
to-
I
wouldn't
think
have
you're
had
running
those
into a
awesome cue
problem though,
card
because
scenes.
the English thing.
But then we would have had to introduce a character in almost
Yeah.
the third act.
But
I'd
A
have
new
liked them
character.
to develop Edda earlier. And
Edda?
the school teacher
Okay.
whose name we
Yeah.
keep forgetting.
Yeah.
What is her name?
Edda.
Okay.
That's an unusual name.
Sure.
But
You notice how when the payroll guy got shot and they got his money back, did they ever give the money back?
No, they definitely
They
took
went
it.
right back to their old ways.
That great setup with the guy that kept protecting the vault of Union banks or something like that. Where
That was fun.
Yes, that was
Same
fantastic.
character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially, I don't know, you didn't like the music too much, but I thought that song was perfect.
Yeah,
I love the dissonance to that.
Yeah. No, it was interesting. Tell us a little bit about when they jumped off the cliff. Remember when the posse was chasing them, and then you talked about.
From what I saw was it was about 3 or 4 big with one little tiny cut, and all that stuff was shot on location except for the main jump, and they ran off of a crane in Malibu.
Okay.
And it was covered with a a front drop of a cliffside.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So
interesting.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
But,
no, a lot of things are shot in Malibu.
but that one little bit,
yeah.
there's like everything's shot there. Oh, but we got to get this one close up, and so we got to go back and do the rushes over here.
Exactly.
So
I
exactly.
have to imagine they didn't do it there because it looked like a lot of rocks under that water. In Malibu, you can jump.
Well, there
safe.
was an area. I don't think it's there anymore. Well, it's a bunch of homes now, but Malibu Creek State Park, which used to be part of the studio, has been broken up and turned into residential stuff years ago.
Oh, okay.
You know, but they filmed Dr. Dolittle. They filmed Planet of the Apes there. They filmed tons of shit.
I heard that there's a Dana Gould, a comedian. He went and he took a bunch of stuff that was left from Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, allegedly there was parts of
there's stuff there.
The Statue of Liberty, but then when I looked at the movie recently, it's actually a miniature. It's a miniature backdrop.
No, but it's like where they were living and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. It's like the
Well, that whole
bigger
section,
sets.
that's the side of the mountain where they filmed I Dream of Jeannie in Point Doom. That was the desert island. That was also used for Gilligan's Island. That was also used for $6 Million Man. And also the top of that is Tony Stark's house in Iron Man.
Yeah. Also, we just finished up Hail Caesar, and they have one of the main groups. Their main houses in Malibu Peak there and stuff like that. So
that's a Coen's Brothers thing.
That's a really good. It's a funny film.
They really love to bust on Hollywood, and yet they're total Hollywood.
Well, of course, but that's half the joy is you make fun of people. But it's good stuff. Have everybody seen that?
I definitely want to see it.
Well, so let's talk about how we can use what we learned tonight from these filmmakers. Is there anything that you think you would use as filmmakers to help your own production? I would use a lot of their how they introduce characters and how they set up situations, because I really liked how they were introduced the character and gave us a sense of history with the other characters in that universe without resorting to flashbacks or too much narration or huge monologues of how they hung out, and so.
I mean, the beginning scene. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say the beginning scene was like no dialogue.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating that way.
Yeah.
It's one of the best examples of show don't tell I've seen in a while.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of good examples of that. So, is there anything else you guys think you'd use in your filmmaking?
I love the closeness. I'd probably watch it again just for the how they were friends, just the friendship and the banter and the like you want to be their friend. Yeah. Is kind of how it felt.
And that's hard to write, that back and forth. That's one thing that Jim, our head writer, does really well in the script that we're working on. He really has good conversations between the main characters together that feel very natural and very fun.
I'm
need
him for when I do this whole thing.
With the motorcycle. Yeah, no, he's really good at writing that dialogue. And so we'll do a table read of that coming up. But
not really. So I just had a hard time following the film.
Okay. That's fine. I also like the wide shots of the location shots. We don't do that enough anymore. I feel obviously because of films being more expensive, et cetera. But
I think that's a fine line because people sometimes can get easily caught in making a pretty scene and then not wanting to cut it because it doesn't really add to the movie. So it's like
Peter Jackson.
You have to have people who do that and it actually makes sense for the story.
Was there any of that in this film that you felt?
There could have been, but you know what? But it's hard to say because the time period. Because like you said, things are longer.
The pacing,
they sit on things longer. So maybe there were some shots that could have been cut down.
Sure.
But maybe that could be modern, taste. Maybe it was appropriate at that time because it's a quicker paced film for an older film.
Sure. I felt like that one when they're in Mexico and they're having the camping night with I guess they're having the school teacher and them talking by the campfire about her going back. It felt that felt a little long in its scene. I felt like they could have cut that a little bit closer, than.
I just wish I knew who she was.
She's 26. What does it matter?
Oh gosh, wasn't that the best? Was that so
26 is school teacher and going nowhere.
That's right. Tell us about that scene, Heidi, when the 26-year-old just gives up on life.
She's like all of a sudden they're like asking her like, well, do you want us to hear? And she like gave all these reasons and she's like, it basically sucks being here and being 26. So
Oh
I
my
guess I'll
God.
go.
I'm an unmarried 26-year-old school teacher. I might as well just give up and buy 8
Seriously,
tabs.
that was probably
Seriously, that
middle-aged
was the
back then.
best. That was the best.
I'm
She was
pretty
like,
sure you guys will get me killed.
Exactly.
Sounds good.
that's right. I have nothing going for me, And so I was like,
Yeah,
wow.
they were never worried about her safety, about being around her. They were like, those guys are coming for us. Better just
Oh
stick
yeah,
around here.
exactly. And that was harsh. That one line that was it Butcher Cat? Which one was the blonde hair? I'm sorry.
Sundance.
Where he's like, I don't want any nagging or complaining of you. The moment that happens, we're gonna drop you like a bad habit. It's like, wow. She's like, okay, I agree to this. I'll
And
show you.
Butch was all, you sure know how to sweet talk.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was interesting the geography of going from Colorado to New York, then to Bolivia.
Yeah.
That's it.
That
York
was
came
so
out of
easy to
nowhere.
get back then. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
let's talk about that.
Yeah, what the heck was that? Was it just like, hey, let's waste like 10 minutes of film by sticking a photo montage?
So let me understand. So they're trying to go south, right?
Yes.
And then
They're
they
doing
ended
it
up
the
going
wrong way.
Northeast, completely the wrong direction. You want to go southeast for Bolivia.
And it felt like the Cheers montage. Where
Yeah.
Oh my god! I'm expecting to see Norm any minute.
Yeah, that felt obviously it was to, I guess, give them a little time to bond as a group on the road instead of
It
until we
was
got
so
to the.
sudden. Let's go to
Yeah.
New York, have a ball,
it
and then
never gets
now
brought
we're
up
in
again.
Bolivia.
But you gotta admit, they saved tons of money by just doing still frames of out there than having to have footage out there. Cause
Well,
Would
as I
they
said,
have even
with
needed
the budget-
footage?
With
It
the
doesn't
budget
really add
spent-
anything to this.
With the budget spent on all the
Yeah.
location shots, they could have actually done location shots of New York or something, or make sense and go. What would you do if you're in
someone back in
Colorado?
the
You want to go to
city
Bolivia?
in the
I think you
60s
go
when they
straight
were
down, don't
watching
you?
this, They were
South.
probably drinking a soda in there, somebody might have peed their pants just because that extra 3 minutes padded on.
oh man, how long was that film? That
was a long.
it was like 2 hours.
No, I don't think so. What
No?
time is it?
I don't know. It's
It was less than 2 hours.
Oh, that's
Really?
just the New York thing was long.
Oh, okay.
It could have been like a shot if they had to. If they had to.
If
go
they
to
had
New
to-
York.
So, well, because obviously they needed time to give the three new companions some time to bond and have a life.
I feel like they
Yes,
were-
but
the
they
bond
could have
did-
done that on the way to, on the normal route south to Bolivia.
Well, I imagine the scenery wasn't that great though,
Maybe
because
have
they're going
a-
from Arizona to
Have him run into that
New
crazy
Mexico, right?
tracker guy, Mr. GPS,
Oh, yeah.
Lord GPS out there.
That's right.
He kind of just dropped out of the face of the earth.
No,
too.
he was part
He
of
was
the gang
shot.
in the end.
Oh, that was
Or
him?
maybe it was shot. But
Wait,
they
who?
were talking about some character I thought was one of the guys from the earlier on. Were part of that.
The game that
group in
found
white.
Okay.
They were greeting one of them as if he was. I don't know if he was the tracker that got. Did he get killed? I didn't remember that.
Well, I'm
It was
getting two
Lord
characters
something
mixed
or
up.
other,
I'm
Lord
getting-
he was
Burlington or
Indian
Lord-
something.
Yes,
Yeah,
but he
okay.
had a British name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of an odd one, yeah.
They were basing all these things on real names of people.
Mm-hmm.
So they had some pretty good. Apparently, the sister of one of the characters who was still alive at the time, she would hang out at the set talking about all this stuff, and she was saying about how much how realistic and everything was.
Okay.
And so they were basing all the names of the characters that you see, like Harvey Logan and Macon and stuff. These were all real people that hung with them.
Oh, plenty.
Why do you think this film is put in every film school's actually, I'm going to totally milk some of these donuts too. Every film
You gotta
school's
milk the
agenda.
donuts? I wanna see that.
Okay, I was trying to find cool words. I don't have them.
I want to say, it's at AFI school. They said it was like their 49th film out of the 100 films for AFI.
Why do you think that every film school puts them on as a must see?
Great character development without a lot of exposition.
I think there's a lot of chemistry, a lot of good chemistry between the two main guys, and they picked a good cast. That's the one thing. And the shots, the pics of how the camera angles for that period were ahead of their time, I thought. So some of the shots and the cuts were.
Can you give me examples of some of the camera angles? There?
From below, they had like worm eye shots in some cases, or they had, I don't know what you call it, but below the knee, or below the horizon
worm's
line.
angle.
Yeah, They had some but they were emphasizing certain characters as powerful by putting the camera angle lower, and instead, because they used to show off like a big guy straight on, they would go a little lower the horizon line, make him look bigger. So it's that kind of stuff.
Sure.
It's the combination of cuts, because I didn't see any real bad ones except for when they were doing some of the chase scenes. I noticed that I guess it was the trick of the day was to take repeats of the film and go backwards and forwards with it, which I wasn't big on.
There were some cuts that were pretty harsh. When they were at the school, I think they were at the school teacher's house, and then they cut straight to them at the some dark location, and it just was like you go from a nice white school teacher's house, and then they actually did a swipe, but then we went to a dark location, so it was just such a harsh contrast.
That was your transition.
Yeah, it was a really harsh contrast.
And that was also common prior. Anything, I think, a good example would be prior to anything 1980 or earlier would have at least one swipe in it, or a circle or iris out.
Sure.
Which is, you could still do that stuff now, but it's not. There's definitely better ways of going.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the sign of a great filmmaker is having those transitions not take the viewer out of the film when they're.
It's a style. It's a style now. Like that's how Tarantino uses that kind of stuff.
Did we care?
No.
Did we care?
No.
No! I just put a donut in my mouth, so of course I. At the end, when we lost the main characters, did we feel emotionally sad by that, or how did we feel at the end? How did you feel about these characters at the very end? Did you think that they lived through the last bit? Did you care if they'd passed away?
I honestly didn't really care too much.
Okay.
Okay, the reason why they did the freeze frame
No,
was
did we
I think that the reason why they did the freeze frame was to give the viewer a little bit more imagination as to what happened. So know they die, but you didn't want to see them die in a hail of bullets.
Did we care at the end when they?
I don't know. I actually don't know. Like a part of me wants to say yes, and a part of me wants to say no. Is that fair?
Sure.
Well, I didn't want to see them die.
Well, here's the correct way you must feel, Heidi. I have it written down right here.
Like I like them, but I didn't like them.
Really, what didn't you like about them?
I guess it's because like what's it called? Like they were just finding out. Like we were watching them. Like they felt like they had been friends forever, but we also find out that they still don't know a lot about each other.
Sure.
And I kind of felt like that as an audience. Like I felt like I kind of do know them, but I still feel like there's still a wall there.
Sure.
And they weren't completely vulnerable even to us.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
I don't know.
No, that's a fair observation.
And my thought was, well, that's where they got the Bolivian firing squad trope namer for on TV tropes.
Interesting.
But yeah, I was like, dang, this is pretty badass. Yeah, it's the way I'd like to see outlaws go out.
Kind of go out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah.
I think they ended up using that again in other films.
Oh yeah, Animorphs, the entire Animorphs book series, which is maybe a little after your time. But that's how it ended.
After my time.
Well, after your time. Well, I mean, I was 10 when that came out, so...
I was 107.
Yeah,
so
you were.
I was probably 40.
Well, it's interesting because
Not your demo.
a lot of times in films, you see them introduce like a character, and they introduce them like maybe the second act, and we know they're gonna die, but yet we still have bitter weeping for them anyway. I forget example like
Bonnie and Clyde.
Simple. What comes to mind? No, like in the Wolverine, that nice couple that brought Wolverine into the barn and gave him clothes, gave him everything. And then the sniper comes and kills them both, and it's like, oh, that's so heartbreaking, So but with Sundance and Butch Cassidy, am I getting the names completely wrong on this? Okay, with the movie that we just saw, it wasn't an emotional sadness that I felt when they were going down in a blaze of gold. It was what you said. This is how I want them to go down with their guns a firing and blazing,
Yeah.
So.
Nobody likes an outlaw who's a defeatist.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah. I think a lot of the was it Joey the Kid or what's Billy the Kid? Joey the Kid. Is it John the Kid?
Clyde.
Kitty the Bill?
Because a lot of the films that they do on Billy the Kid, they always show him getting killed. Did you guys ever notice that?
Yeah, because they always want to go on about how he died.
Oh, is that the claim? Really? Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Okay.
he was shot in the back by another
outlaw, yeah.
kid.
Was
another
it?
outlaw kid.
I
or
thought it was the
something.
sheriff. No.
No, I think it was. I think I have to look that one up. But I think he was actually gunned down by a young upstart gunslinger, and he was shot in the
was it?
back, which
Okay.
was really terrible.
Okay.
But that's why they like to emphasize that in all the Hollywood stuff.
But with this one, we kind of left him leave us on a high note. So.
Yeah, you give the little kid hope. Oh, maybe he went out and shot every guy.
Well, there was a
dodged all
sequel
those
to this
bullets,
film. There really was.
That's
so
crazy.
They obviously must have made it so they escaped. I don't know.
It was some 10-year-old kid's fan fiction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
exactly. Some of that fan fiction is crazy awesome, but
That's
yeah.
the only way you can have a sequel. Is Edna becomes the.
She becomes the badass. See, that's why they
That's
developed for
why
the
she's
first
good.
one. Is because Edna's gonna become a badass. That's right. That's right.
And nobody remembers her name anyway, so she'd be perfect for that.
Exactly. And she was the ripe old age of 26, so she had plenty of years to learn how to sling a gun. So.
She didn't seem to have a problem with it. She wasn't like, hey, maybe you should stop, you guys.
Oh,
She was
absolutely.
she was like, whatever,
Yeah.
do what you want.
I don't care. My life is over. I'm 26. It's done. Done.
Edna
done,
and that
done.
train bank guy who kept getting blown up. They should team up.
That's
last blow
that's
up
the third
was so
sequel of this.
awesome. With the stunt guys were right there
On the train. Yeah.
right in front of that stuff when it blew up on them.
yeah.
Holy
Oh
shit!
yeah. Oh yeah. Good stuff.
Somebody definitely got hurt in that scene.
That was funny. All right. Well, I think is there anything else anybody wants to add to this? No. I think. Are we even going?
31 minutes. We can call it